A duck in a ballet costume made me rethink free will. A children's picture book art style gave me the most emotionally devastating experience I've had watching anything this decade. And a show about a man studying invisible bacteria became my replacement for therapy. These are not exaggerations. Today I'm counting down 10 forgotten anime that remain unmatched in 2026, and every single one of them is better than what that sentence just made them sound like. Let me explain. Number 10. Mobile Suit Gundam 0080, War in the Pocket. Now, before anyone clicks off, yes, it's Gundam. But no, it is nothing like what you think Gundam is. This is a 6-episode OVA from 1989, and I genuinely think it might be the most devastating anti-war story I've ever experienced in animation. Most Gundam shows give you a teenager climbing into a giant robot and saving the galaxy. This one gives you a 10-year-old boy named Alfred who thinks war is cool. He sees mobile suits the way kids see fighter jets at an air show, just awesome machines doing awesome things. And then the actual war arrives at his doorstep, and over the course of 6 episodes, that childlike excitement is systematically dismantled. What got me personally was how grounded it felt. There's no grand political speech. There's no dramatic sacrifice set to orchestral music designed to make you cry. The tragedy here comes from something far worse. Miscommunication. Just people not having the right information at the right time. And the final episode, without telling you what happens, left me sitting in silence for about 20 minutes afterwards. I remember thinking, that's it? That's how this ends? And then it hit me that, yeah, that's kind of the whole point. War doesn't give you clean endings. 6 episodes. That's all it takes for this show to outdo a 100-episode saga. Please find this one. Number 9. Heike Monogatari, or The Heike Story. This one was directed by Naoko Yamada, who also directed A Silent Voice. And honestly, the fact that this show flew under the radar is a crime against animation. It came out in 2021. It's an adaptation of a classic Japanese historical epic about the rise and fall of the Taira clan, and it is visually one of the most gorgeous things I have ever watched. Every single frame looks like someone painted it on parchment. The colour palette is muted and soft, and it gives the whole thing this texture of looking at history through fogged glass. But the real genius is the framing. You experience the entire story through this character called Biwa, who has an eye that can see the future. So from the very first episode, she knows how everything ends. She knows these people she's growing to love are doomed. And you know it too, because it's based on real history. So the whole show becomes this meditation on impermanence, and this is going to sound pretentious, but I genuinely mean it. It made me think differently about how I process things I know I'm going to lose. That specific feeling of loving something while already grieving it. The ending is quiet and absolutely devastating. If you appreciate animation as genuine art, this is non-negotiable viewing. Number 8. Hibane Renmei. Right, so this one is probably the hardest sell on the entire list, and I need you to trust me. Hibane Renmei has no action. None. The pacing is glacially slow. The colour palette looks like someone left a watercolour painting out in the rain, and the premise sounds like a fever dream. A girl hatches from a cocoon in a walled town, grows small grey wings, has no memories of her past life, and lives alongside other winged beings called Hibane who are forbidden from ever touching the wall surrounding their settlement. If you're still reading, good, because this show rewarded my patience in a way almost nothing else has. It's essentially a philosophical allegory about sin, depression, redemption, and what it means to forgive yourself for things you can't even remember doing. There's a character arc in the second half of this show that genuinely felt like it was speaking directly to me during a rough patch I was going through. It handles heavy psychological themes with this incredible gentleness that I think is actually harder to pull off than shock value. Most anime that tackle depression want to traumatize you. This one just wants to sit with you. And somehow that's infinitely more powerful. Number 7. Journal with Witch, also known as Ikoku Nikki. This one is from this year actually, winter 2026, and it got absolutely buried alive. Frieren Season 2 was airing, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3 was airing, Oshi no Ko Season 3 was airing. So naturally, almost nobody watched the quiet little slice of life show about a teenage girl moving in with her socially reclusive novelist aunt after her parents die. And I'll to be real with you, this show made me feel seen in a way that was almost uncomfortable. It's about the hidden, unglamorous, exhausting parts of being an adult. Forgetting to take your medication. Letting vegetables rot in the fridge because you couldn't summon the energy to cook. Finding basic administrative tasks like scheduling appointments genuinely overwhelming. The aunt isn't portrayed as a quirky disaster for laughs. She's portrayed as a person whose brain simply works differently, and the show treats that with so much respect and empathy that I had to pause an episode midway through just to process it. There's a line in this show. The protagonist says something along the lines of, "My mind is always busy." And I swear I felt that in my chest. In a season full of supernatural battles and power scaling, this quiet, human little show about two people figuring out how to coexist might be the most meaningful thing that aired. If you watched it, do drop a comment and tell me what you thought, because I feel like I'm going mad being one of the only people talking about it. Number 6. Mushi-Shi. Okay, if you know, you know. And if you don't, I am pretty envious that you get to experience this for the first time. This is a 2-season series, the first from 2005 and the second from 2014, and it follows a wanderer named Ginko who travels through rural Japan studying these invisible, primordial life forms called Mushi. They're not monsters, they're not evil, they're just existing, like bacteria or weather patterns. And when they intersect with human lives, strange things happen. Each episode is essentially its own self-contained short story, structured like ancient folklore. And the atmosphere, I cannot overstate this, is unlike anything else in the medium. It's contemplative, quiet. The backgrounds look like living watercolor paintings. The sound design makes you feel like you're standing in a forest at 4 in the morning. I used to watch single episodes of Mushi-Shi before bed, and it would completely reset my brain after a stressful day. Now here comes the infuriating part. The second season was removed from Crunchyroll in March 2026. Just gone. Licensing expired, and suddenly half of one of the greatest anime ever made is functionally inaccessible for most Western viewers. And that terrifies me, because this is happening to more and more shows. Masterpieces are vanishing because a contract expired and nobody renewed it. If you've got any way to watch this, do it now, because I honestly cannot guarantee it'll still be there in 6 months. And while you're at it, if you're enjoying this list, a like and a subscribe goes a long, long way. It motivates me to keep making more videos like this, where I can spotlight shows that deserve way more attention. Right, moving on. Number 5. Ping-Pong the animation. I need to address something immediately. Yes, the art style looks weird. I know. The characters look rough and angular and nothing like conventional anime. And I am telling you right now, if you skip this show because of that, you are making one of the biggest mistakes in your anime watching life. Ping-Pong the animation is 11 episodes, directed by Masaki Yuasa, and it uses table tennis as a vehicle to tell one of the most psychologically rich stories about talent, ambition, failure, and human limitation I have ever encountered. The two main characters are childhood friends. Peko is a loud, arrogant prodigy who believes he's destined for greatness. Smile is absurdly skilled but completely apathetic. He plays mechanically, joylessly, like he's filing paperwork. And over 11 episodes, the show systematically takes apart every comfortable lie the sports genre has ever told you. Hard work doesn't always beat talent. Talent doesn't always guarantee fulfillment. And not everyone gets a triumphant final match. There is a specific scene involving a side character, not even one of the two leads, where they come to terms with something about themselves during a match, and it's done entirely through the animation. No dialogue. Just Yuasa's wild, distorted, fluid visual style conveying an internal emotional shift. I rewound that scene 4 times because I couldn't believe how much it communicated without a single word being spoken. 11 episodes, an 8.63 on my anime list. Criminally underwatched. Please, fix that. Number 4. Kyousougiga. This one is genuinely difficult to explain, and I think that's part of why it got overlooked. Kyousougiga is 10 episodes of absolute visual chaos. Colour is everywhere, characters are leaping between dimensions. A girl with a massive shape-shifting hammer crashes into an alternate reality version of Kyoto where nothing can be destroyed and no one can die. It feels like drinking a kaleidoscope. And underneath all of that sensory overload is this incredibly tender, raw family drama. Without getting into specifics, the story is fundamentally about 3 siblings who were abandoned by their parents and how each of them dealt with that trauma in completely dysfunctional ways. The world they live in, this frozen, indestructible dimension, is essentially a physical manifestation of their emotional stasis. They can't move on. They can't grieve properly. Everything is preserved exactly as it was, because change means confronting the loss. It draws from Shinto mythology and Buddhist cosmology, and it could have been an incomprehensible mess, but the director Rie Matsumoto somehow holds the entire thing together through sheer force of creative vision. There's a sequence near the end of the show that recontextualizes everything you've watched, and it hit me with this wave of emotion I was not prepared for from something this colourful and hyperactive. Kyousougiga is proof that maximalism and emotional depth are not mutually exclusive, and I wish more people knew it existed. Number 3. Den-noh Coil. This is going to sound dramatic, but I think Den-noh Coil from 2007 might be one of the most prophetic pieces of fiction ever created. It's set in a near-future city where everyone wears augmented reality glasses that overlay a digital layer onto the real world. Kids use them to interact with virtual pets, run illegal software, and explore glitched-out, corrupted spaces in the digital overlay. And this was made years before smartphones were everywhere. Years before anyone was seriously talking about AR spatial computing. The director, Mitsuo Iso, essentially predicted the trajectory of our relationship with technology with frightening accuracy. But here's what elevates it from clever sci-fi to genuine masterpiece territory. The show is really about distance. The distance between people. These children are surrounded by technology that seemingly connects them to everything, and yet they're profoundly isolated. There's a detail that stuck with me for years. The protagonist has this virtual pet that she clearly loves, and she can see it, interact with it, play with it, but she can never actually feel it. She can never touch it. And that one detail says more about our relationship with digital spaces in 2026 than entire books on the subject. The show starts as this charming, almost Ghibli-esque adventure about kids investigating urban legends in cyberspace, and then it gradually transforms into something far darker and more psychologically complex. It asks questions about grief and memory, and whether retreating into virtual spaces to avoid pain actually helps, or just creates a different kind of suffering. In a year where we're all terminally online and increasingly living through screens, Den-noh Coil feels less like fiction and more like a warning. A beautiful, meticulously animated warning. Number 2. Kaiba. Masaaki Yuasa's second entry on this list, and honestly, this might be the single most emotionally devastating anime I have ever watched. And it does it with an art style that looks like a children's picture book. That contrast is entirely intentional, and it's part of what makes it so disturbing. Kaiba is set in a universe where human memories can be extracted, stored on small chips, and transferred between bodies. Your consciousness can be copied, sold, deleted, or placed into a completely different physical form. The protagonist wakes up with no memories, a hole through his chest, and a pendant containing a photo of someone he doesn't recognize. And from there, the show takes you on a journey through one of the bleakest dystopias I've ever seen. Again, rendered in soft, rounded, almost cute visuals. The wealthy live above the clouds, hoarding perfect bodies, treating human lives as disposable. The poor live below, selling their own physical forms just to survive. Memories, the things that make you who you are treated as currency. And there is a specific episode involving a character and what happens to their body and memories that I absolutely cannot describe without spoiling. But I will tell you that I had to stop watching and walk around my flat for about 15 minutes afterwards. I wasn't crying, I was just furious. Furious at how casually cruel it was. And that's the point, I guess? Kaiba asks what it actually means to be human when every component of your identity can be commodified. Can love survive if your body, your memories, your very sense of self are all transferable data? It's a show that I think about at least once a week, years after watching it. If you engage with even a single recommendation from this list, make it this one. Or the next one. Number 1. Princess Tutu. Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know what you're thinking. The title sounds like a show for 5-year-olds. The promotional art is pink and sparkly and features a duck in a ballet outfit. And I am telling you with my full chest that Princess Tutu is one of the most intellectually ambitious, thematically complex, and emotionally shattering anime ever created. This is the hill I will die on, and I will die on it in a tutu if necessary. Made in 2002, the basic setup is this. A duck falls in love with a sad prince. Through the power of a dead author's ghost, the duck is transformed into a girl who can become a magical ballerina called Princess Tutu. Her mission is to restore the prince's shattered emotions, and she is cursed so that if she ever confesses her love, she vanishes forever. If you stopped listening there, you'd think this was a fairy tale. And it is. That's the entire point, because the real story is about what happens when the characters realize they're in a fairy tale, and that someone else is writing their ending. The actual antagonist of this show isn't a villain, it's the narrative itself. It's fate. It's a dead author who manipulates events from beyond the grave because he thinks tragedy makes for a better story than happiness. Conflicts in this show aren't resolved with magical beams of energy. They're resolved through ballet, through empathy, through Princess Tutu literally dancing with someone until they confront the emotion they've been suppressing. And somehow, that's highly compelling. There is a moment in the final arc of this show, and I am choosing my words very carefully here, where the protagonist is faced with an impossible choice about her own identity and autonomy. And the resolution to that choice made me understand something about sacrifice and selflessness that I don't think I'd properly grasped before. It's a show about a duck in a ballet costume that made me rethink how I understand free will. I can't believe I just typed that sentence, but it's the truth. Princess Tutu nearly didn't even get a full physical release because initial sales were so poor. And yet, here it is, over 2 decades later, still emotionally and conceptually unmatched by anything I've seen since. It is the #1 forgotten anime masterpiece of 2026, and it deserves your time more than almost anything currently airing. Now, if you want to see what is coming up in the mainstream, I just put out a video ranking every single upcoming isekai of 2026, and some of those rankings are going to be controversial. That one's on screen right now. I'll see you there.